I just want to talk about a character I'm going to be building after League start. This is definitely a secondary character because of the bow. It's going to take a bunch of divines to make, so we'll see how much that will cost eventually. And also the helmet, which will become Aznav's mark. Hopefully we can use that level 8 and not whatever higher level this originally is, like in the 40s. So that'd be super fun for leveling if I were to get the Aznav's mark and craft this bow. So for a secondary character, definitely not a League starter, I would want to have these two items before I would play this character. But I just wanted to make a pretty speedy MagicFinder. I made this character back in Arch Nemesis, and I thought it was pretty fun. And I think it's pretty fast. It's just Caustic Arrow, doing low tier white maps, triggering Soulrend. So Soulrend got a buff in the upcoming League, Mariclandra, and so did the helmet. The helmet gets more spell damage, and I think it's pretty fun. Damage isn't going to be that high even with Insane Investment. I mean, with Insane Investment, it can be in the millions probably. More damage if you were to go to Cultist, but I wanted to make a MagicFinder with some decent speed. So I think this is how it would play out. You use Soulrend to clear trash. Single target is definitely not going to be that good. Rampage will carry you pretty far, the bow and the helmet will carry you pretty far. Soulrend for like low tier early maps will give enough damage, and it does most of the work. The Caustic Arrow is there to like clean up rares, essentially. And if we just run through maps, you can definitely get faster. I will have a different POB than the character that I'm showing here because of all the changes. There's a lot of aura node changes, and that's why the build's going to be quite different from back in Arch Nemesis. Just want to show in Toxic Sewers, even though that's getting removed, and I got a lucky Exalt, which is going to be worth a lot less than Divines in the upcoming League. So I'll go over the POB and show the differences, but I think the main thing, which will be comparable to the skill tree, is that early on you can just grab a lot of nodes on the skill tree, and you don't need an Unnatural Instinct. That's for much later, just for like movement speed and some life. So there's like a lot of quality of life stuff in there. But if you were to get extra points, you could put into life nodes here, here, or more damage nodes like around here, and you can change out the tree. But anyways, we'll go over the POB coming up next. So here's the POB. Again, you do not need the Natural Instinct. You do not need this Rare Jewel. However, this is just a tree that I would be using. Later on, like when you're like level 90 plus, I would start putting in the jewel sockets. Other than that, I would probably use this jewel socket, this jewel socket, and this jewel socket for Grand Spectrums that are coming out with Mariclandra. And I moved Glorious Vanity up here because if I were down here, it would start affecting some of these other nodes. Like in my normal character, I actually don't have these selected because of the Glorious Vanity changing this to being a different node. But when you're not, it's actually quite a bit of damage to select this node. And because of all the changes to auras, I actually only use 2 auras. So I am using Purity of Elements and Grace because I'm pretty lazy about, ailments and reses. So my reses aren't very high, even with Purity of Elements up. But because of the changes to mana reservation, I'm only using those 2 auras instead of Malevolence as well. But if you're able to fix your resistances and get ailment avoidance like with the Grand Spectrums, then we can turn off the Purity of Elements and then turn on the Malevolence. So Malevolence would give us like another 20% damage. So right now we're only at 750k, and this would bring us up to like 900k. And if we get sources of withering, such as like from our totem, so we have for single target, if you were to do higher tier content, like red tier maps and stuff to farm, maybe you might need some single target help. So we have Toxic Rain for that with the Withering Touch. And if you start getting stacks of that, let's say we can get like 8 stacks of Withering, then our damage with Caustic would go up to like 1.3 million. And then our Soulrend would also be going up in damage to like 140k. So it'd be like a 1.5 mil damage around with Toxic Arrow helping out with that. Toxic Rain isn't really useful or need it if you're doing lower tier maps. And a lot of the gems you don't have to do Awakened, you can just do normal versions until you can afford or come upon the Awakened versions. Then Power 4 I have in the POB It can be a lot lower though. You don't need it for clearing. I had a Empower 3 in my bow for the video, but the damage does go down significantly without levels to Caustic Arrow. And I don't even have a level 21 Caustic Arrow in the video either. I have a level 20. So my damage is a lot lower, but that's why I'm also just magic finding on lower tier maps. If I were to invest more, I wouldn't be using any magic finding gear. But because I want to do magic finding, that's why I have a lot of these uniques, Biscos, Pariah, and Queen of the Forest for speed. So those are the main things I think I'm going to still go for. I'll be looking to just clear low tier white maps and just trying to do it quickly and not worry about any of the mods. So it's like alch can go with whatever juice I need or want to put on. And with all the new gems, it may be useful to, because I play in hardcore, it may be just more useful to find at least some of them myself. So as a secondary character, I think this will be pretty fun to just like go fast and run low tier maps. If you were to change it to be higher tier content, you would change some of these nodes out and then probably start using more clusters, like medium ones. I do have some medium clusters that can be put in, but then you have to change your points around. But I think for a starting low tier magic finding character, I think this would be pretty good.